In this video, I'll show you more exercises designed to improve your walking pattern, this time with a focus on the ankle. I'm going to show several levels for each exercise with the idea that you can pick the level that is challenging but possible for you to do correctly, and hopefully advance to the next level after you've become stronger. This video would also be a good tool for anyone who uses an AFO for foot drop, but still wants to do everything they can to strengthen their lower leg muscles. But first, some quick disclaimers. First, we'll talk about strengthening the tibialis anterior muscle, which is the primary muscle responsible for ankle dorsiflexion. This motion is necessary to pick up our foot so we don't trip, ensure we land on our heel first while walking, and then set the rest of our foot down in a controlled manner. If you have severe weakness in this muscle, it produces foot drop. You may notice that you have to bend your hip and knee extra when you walk to compensate for this. That's called a step-edge gait pattern. If you have mild weakness in this muscle group, you or your family member may have noticed that after you put your heel down when you walk, your foot makes a slapping sound. Not surprisingly, that's called foot slap. So let's talk about how to strengthen this muscle. So the simplest way to start strengthening this muscle is to simply pull the top of my foot up towards my shin in a seated position. I might hold for a few seconds and lower very slowly. This is going to be easier to do with my feet farther out in front of me, and I can progress by bringing my feet in closer to my body. If that is too difficult for you, you may need to start by propping your ankle up on your knee and then pulling the top of your foot towards your shin in this position so gravity is eliminated. Now, if you're able to perform this motion against gravity, you can progress by adding resistance. If you have access to an elastic resistance band, you can wrap it around your foot, step on the other side, and there's your added resistance. If this is still too easy, the hardest version of this exercise is to perform it standing with your back to the wall. You lean back against the wall so that you can't sway back to compensate, and the closer your feet are to the wall, the harder the exercise is. Next, we'll discuss the muscles responsible for eversion, the Fibularis muscle group, also known as the peroneal muscles. Normally, these muscles will be active for much of the time that my foot is on the ground during walking to stabilize the outside of my ankle and help shift the pressure towards my big toe. Right before I'm pushing off to pick up my foot during gait, we're meant to roll through the big toe. This muscle group is sometimes forgotten, but it's crucial for many groups of people in rehabilitation. Those who are recovering from ankle sprains, anyone with foot drop for any reason, because nearly everyone who has weakness in dorsiflexion also has weakness in eversion. Also, many people with balance problems, since this muscle helps me to avoid rolling too far to the outside of my foot, which is part of a common motion people do when they're losing their balance to the side. So let's talk about strengthening the Fibularis muscle group. Now, when I'm in a seated position, I'm already in a gravity-eliminated position for these muscles. So I can start by simply working on taking the pinky toe side of my foot to the outside and up a little higher than the big toe side of my foot. So it sort of becomes a scooping motion, if possible. If this is easy for you, once again, you can add resistance with an elastic band. And there's a very simple way to progress this exercise. Now, with all versions, it can be really easy to sort of cheat with your hip muscles and try to help. So sometimes I ask my patients to hold something between their knees or even squeeze their fists between their knees so that they can't use their upper legs to assist with the motion. The hardest version of working this muscle is actually during a heel raise type of motion. Really interesting research studies found that if you do a heel raise while focusing on trapping something under your big toe knuckle or hiding something under your big toe knuckle, it requires even more activation in the Fibularis muscle group. Even if you're strong enough to do these exercises with resistance or in standing, a lot of people who have foot drop would benefit from practicing just the active range of motion in dorsiflexion and in eversion very repetitively throughout the day to regain control of the motions. Now we'll discuss the posterior tibialis muscle. This is one of your built-in arch supporting muscles, and it's meant to be active the whole time my foot is on the ground during gait. It helps to stabilize my arch and stabilize my inner ankle. Many people would benefit from strengthening this muscle, especially if you've ever been called an overpronator or told you have flat feet. For some who have naturally flatter feet but don't have any major health concerns or injury, it might even be more beneficial to make this muscle and your foot stronger instead of only choosing shoes or buying insoles with a very high amount of arch support. So let's talk about how to strengthen the posterior tibialis muscle. The simplest way is to begin in a seated position and simply work on pulling the inside of your foot towards the inside. If this is easy, you can progress to doing this motion against gravity, propped up on your knee, and then you're going to work on bringing the sole of your foot up towards the ceiling while also pointing your foot at the same time. And this is so that you isolate the proper muscle. If that's too easy, you can add resistance. You'll want to step on the ends with your other foot and place the resistance towards the very front of your foot. Once you have the resistance, it is harder to control the way down, but that's really important for applicability to the walking cycle. So slow and controlled for the whole motion. Now, if that's pretty easy for you, you can progress to doing a standing heel raise while squeezing a tennis ball or small object between your heels, especially at the top of the motion. And this mimics the normal contributions that posterior tibialis does during a heel raise motion. And if that's too easy, you can progress to a single leg heel raise, making sure that your heel naturally turns inward slightly at the top of the motion. Next, we'll discuss the gastrocnemius soleus complex, otherwise known as the calf muscles. So as my body rocks over my foot during gait, the calf is actually helping to slow down how fast my tibia or shin bone tilts forward. This means that my shin ends up going slower than my thigh, which has the effect of straightening and helping to stabilize my knee without needing as much thigh muscle during this phase of gait. Then, right before I pick up my foot, the Achilles tendon recoils from being stretched, and that energy from the elasticity helps propel my leg forward without having to use as much active muscle contraction, making it more efficient. The calf muscle is also very important for when I want to increase my walking speed. Most people could benefit from strengthening their calf muscles. If you want to walk well, walk quickly, walk for long distances, you need a strong calf. Normal function of the calf muscles is considered the ability to do 20 to 25 single leg heel rises to full height. Because this muscle does so much work during the gait cycle, it needs to be very strong. Even if you're recovering from medical issues and single leg heel raises are not possible for you, just working on getting your calf stronger than it is now is very likely to have a significant benefit to your walking ability. So let's talk about how to strengthen the calf muscle complex. The simplest version is, of course, to just start with a seated heel raise. If your calf muscles are not strong enough to do standing heel raises, no big deal, you can work on it in a seated position. A couple tricks to make this as high quality as you can are to try to put a little more pressure through your big toe knuckles than your pinky toe knuckles, and to come down slowly and with control. And also, when you are in the lowering phase, to try to lower past a neutral position or a 90-degree angle in your ankle. So I might need to have my feet a little bit behind my knees. And if I have the ankle mobility, I can lower all the way down past a neutral position, and that makes it more applicable to the gait cycle because the range of motion mimics what you use when you walk. You can also, of course, add a band resistance here. The key is going to be trying not to cheat or compensate with other muscles. So what I'll sometimes see is people want to dump a lot of knee motion in with this. So just make sure you are isolating your calf muscle and coming up once again, slow and controlled. If all of those are easy, then you progress to standing heel raises on two legs. Make sure you're not compensating by swaying forward a lot when you do standing heel rises, but you can hold on the whole time because the purpose of this exercise is building strength, not balance. So you'll probably have a smoother motion if you do go ahead and hold on. And then, of course, if a two-legged heel raise is too easy for you, go to one leg. All of these ankle muscles are designed to work together with other muscles for thousands of steps per day. So when we're isolating them like this, I usually still recommend higher repetition ranges, starting with 10 repetitions if needed, but often working up to from 1 to 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions if possible. Just be sure to start small and work your way up in repetitions and in difficulty. If you have significant weakness in one or more of these muscles, there's a good chance your walking pattern would improve with an ankle-foot orthosis. If you'd like to learn more about those, you can check out our orthotic selection and training series. To learn more about strengthening the muscles in your hips and thighs to improve your walking pattern, you can check out the video we already made called Exercises to Help You Walk Better, which is episode 4 of our Walk Talk series. If If you have a neurologic diagnosis, such as stroke, cerebral palsy, or traumatic brain injury that causes your leg to be hypertonic, having increased tone or spasticity, exercise is just as important for you, but the versions shown in this video may not be right for you. We'll make a separate video all about how to exercise in ways that discourages those high tone patterns.